topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Welcome back to 2022's first episode. I'm Kevin Hallinan. This is Winning Business Radio on W4CY.com. Now Winning Business TV, live streaming on Talk4TV.com, in addition to Facebook on our Winning Business Radio page, as well as many other platforms. The mission of this show, as regular listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others, to learn best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, to be challenged and certainly to be inspired by the successes of others. Every successful person I've ever had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. So listen, I say it every time, while we all have to get our knees skinned once in a while, I'm driven to keep those scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it. Today, I've got a very special guest. This is the first episode of 2022. As I said, episode 135 to be exact. And our guest today was a guest in August of 2018, episode 7, Dave. Dave McNaughton has been one of my closest friends since we met in 1986. 34 years ago, he officiated the wedding ceremony of my wife, Debbie, and me. And pretty cool, on August 3rd, 2019, 2.5 years ago, Dave performed the wedding ceremony of our oldest son, Brandon, and his wife, Chloe, who are expecting, their first kid, but our first grandchild, which is cool. So here's Dave's bio. Dave McNaughton is an entrepreneur, financial advisor, consultant, coach, pastor, and church planter. He and his wife, Kena, began their ministry in Dallas, Texas, as the junior high youth pastors at Oak Cliff Assembly of God. Since then, beginning in the early 90s, they felt the call to become heavily involved in church planting. Dave has been instrumental in church planting across the U.S. for the past 19 years, as he served as a U.S. missions church planter since 2002. He began his ministry in the New England area as an associate pastor at Christian Life Center in Walpole, Massachusetts in the fall of 1986. He served in the Southern New England District Office for a time, was the founding pastor of Church of Abundant Life in Braintree, Mass. In 91 through 98, a partner of McNaughton Equipment, livestock industry from 92 to 04, has been a consultant and coach to churches, pastors, and church planters since 05, and has been a financial advisor with a Fortune 500 financial services firm since 2015. Dave and his family relocated from Texas to the Boston area a second time to help plant the Lake Church, which was founded on February 24th, 2013, and Dave took over as lead pastor in 2016. He holds a BA in Biblical Studies and Philosophy from Evangel University, is an associate certified coach with the International Coach Federation, and holds several other certifications and credentials. Dave resides in Newton, Mass. with his wife, Kena, and their soon-to-be married youngest daughter. They have a son and daughter-in-law and 3 grandchildren living in Aurora, Colorado, and a daughter and son-in-law and 2 grandchildren, that's 5 total, living in Norwood, Mass. He loves golf and grandkids. He can tell you the order. Dave, welcome to Winning Business Radio.
It's great to be with you today, Kev. And man, it's exhausting just to listen to everything you just said. It's a really long bio.
It is, and that's not even all of it, too.
That's true. But I'm glad to be a number 135 and dated back all the way to number 7. Wow,
yeah,
you
we
guys
started
have
this
been going for a while.
Yeah, we started this in July of 2018.
Wow.
Almost accidentally. I'll tell that story some other time, but I think you've heard it before. Oops,
yeah.
Got some noise from the other computer here. I want to take you back to high school. I know it was way back when, but you were a football player and you identified yourself as an athlete. And you had designs on extending that football career, at least into college. Tell us about that and then what changed.
Well, so I was on a really good team and had really good coaches
Mm.
and played high school football in the state of Texas, which is like it's Friday night religion and Saturday is college football. Then Sunday is the church gathering. And so they're all kind of they're very passionate about those three things, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And just had a great experience with that group of guys. There were actually 8 Division I players who were juniors and seniors on that team that I played on as a senior. And that was a great time. I got heavily involved with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at that point. And I really saw myself really being more on mission, not just as representing myself, and my community, but also the God that I served and serve, and connected that to my athletic experience and strengths. And I went to college and played a little bit there, but what kind of turned for me was I actually was in a car wreck and had a head injury, and in the
that
middle
explains a lot.
It does. So, but it was I was sitting in the doctor's office, and it was in the middle of spring. We were in spring practice, and my junior year in college, and I was having these headaches, and he said, "Hey, what are you going to do with the rest of your life?" And I'd been thinking about that for a lot. And he said, and this was kind of funny. He said, and I told him, I really feel like I'm going to be, I feel like I'm on 2 rails. Like I like the entrepreneurial life, and I want to connect business and ministry together somehow, but I'm going to be involved in some kind of missional life. And he said, to hear you say that, I hear that passion in your voice, and I don't want anything physical to stand in your way. So I'm failing you in this physical, which means that you're retired from your football career.
Not what you wanted to hear at the time.
No, it was a tough day.
Yeah.
It was a really tough day because I had, I just like every kid growing up, I had had enough success in athletics to know that, all of the things that translate into regular life. I knew all of that, but I didn't want to retire on, have something else other than my desire to retire. But I was retired medically before my senior year, I guess, in college. And it kind of put me on the trajectory of, okay. So the funny thing he said was, so because you're on that path, I failed you because you're going to need all of your mental capabilities to do what you're talking about. And so the funnier part was, hey, he said, if you were going to be a coach, I would pass you probably.
That's funny. For all our coaches in the audience, right?
Coaches, I love you guys, but evidently you have to have all of your brain cells if you're, no, I'm just kidding. But and that was there was no concussion focus at that point. It was just a doctor that was looking out for the team. Our team doctor was looking out for the players as opposed to just the team. And, small college team doctor, that wasn't his main gig. And so, he took good care of me. And I was really thankful that after the fact, I was not happy that day when I went home, and actually told my new wife that there was no chance of scholarship next year. That was tough.
Wow.
But it was a good decision, and I'm thankful for that.
So you grew up as a pastor's kid. Your dad was a pastor. What challenges did that create? And then also kind of combined with that answer, when did you feel called to be in the ministry yourself?
Yeah. So I always loved being a pastor's kid. Like I liked I didn't like to have to be at everything all the time. And there were some things that we certainly did have to sacrifice in, but I always thought it was great being in the middle of all of this activity and people some of the greatest people in the world that we were able to interact with. Some of my dad's friends that would show up, they would tell stories about, like these guys who would do amazing things. They would travel around the world, and to do the the missions type work, and they tell their stories. And I always like, man, if I ever were in ministry, I'd be the guy who want to go, chop down a tree and float it and make it into a canoe and float it down the Amazon and do what that guy did, So I was always intrigued by what people were doing to help other people. But I didn't see myself as like a traditional pastor. And I guess I'm not, because that where I've landed is right on those two rails of like business and ministry. But one, I don't think I could be doing one without the other. At the level, I've been able to be a part of some really awesome things because I had both. It's not an either or. So
tell us about the family business. Your dad had a business. We'll talk about going down later, leaving New England, going down back home to Texas to work in that. But just describe the business for the moment.
Yeah, it was a distribution company. My dad had a friend who was a rancher, and that was my dad's actual background. He was a rancher that had sensed the call into ministry, but he also was very entrepreneurial. And so he encouraged his friend who had designed this piece of equipment to get a patent on it, and that he would also eventually begin to, on his day off, would go and sell it. And so that opened up the door for him to jump in and be a part of that business, and because of that relationship. And it all kind of boils down to that, doesn't it? Like, hey, we're in the relationship business. We all think that we're in the, like, whatever, the widget business, but we're in the relationship business.
No doubt.
And so, like, his relationship with his friend Bud Pearson took this turn where Bud went and got this patent, and he became very successful. This little manufacturing company became one of the world leaders in cattle handling equipment. And my dad opened up several of the territories. As he pastored churches, he also would carry that distributorship to wherever we went. That's how we ended up in Texas. And so that opened up the door for us to meet all kinds of awesome people while we were doing that. But so we at that point in the Texas, the equipment business there in Texas was a regional distribution company. We had a distributorship on multiple lines with the Pearson company, but also with other companies that were complementary. And then on top of that, we also had a dealer network that we were developing all through the states of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and into some of the outlying areas around that. But it was a really good business, and we did that from 1976 to 2004.
Wow.
And in 2004, Dad's health was such that he needed to retire. He had actually tried to retire 3 other times and failed at it miserably. He was much better at business than he was at retirement.
That's funny.
And so we sold the company. He couldn't go back to it, and he was able to retire very comfortably.
Well, hold that thought right there. We're going to come back to that. We're going to take our first break right here. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave McNaughton.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Star, the king of cool and your host of the Jimmy Star Show, the entertainment radio show for all you cool and unique people looking to get a behind-the-scenes peek at what's going on in the entertainment industry. Listen in as me and my cool crowd of co-hosts bring you celebrity guests, new music, and the good times in fashion, entertainment, and pop culture. Right, everybody? Right! Tune in live Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on W4CY.com.
Hey, this is Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and you're listening to W4CY Radio.
So join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bestgen Wealth Management is a second-generation, family-owned financial planning and wealth advisory firm. In addition to coordinating complex business and personal planning needs, our firm takes a sincere interest in your well-being and personal values. Find us at bestgenwm.com. That's bestgenwm.com, where we consider all our clients an extension of our family. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
Welcome back. We're here with Dave McNaughton, entrepreneur, financial advisor, consultant, coach, pastor, and church planter, the abbreviated version. How's that?
Yeah, man. So
as I read in your bio, you've been heavily involved in church planting for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Two firsthand in Walpole and Canton, in Braintree and Canton.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about those in a bit. A lot of others indirectly. Where did that desire to church plant churches, which is kind of foreign probably to the non-church world?
Yeah.
Like churches are always there, aren't they? Right?
Yeah, you think so. Like it's like when you think of church, you think of a building.
Right.
And you think of people that have been, generations of people. And so
Right.
the idea of this really started, it wasn't really formalized in my brain like this, but the idea was, hey, let's connect people who don't traditionally think about their need for God.
Yeah.
In a church context. It started when I was an athlete. It started when I was active with our Fellowship of Christian Athletes group, like the guys on my team who, I'd had, just the opportunity to bring them to a Bible study. And there was the secret sauce of this wasn't the Bible even that brought guys in. It was the need for relationship and that camaraderie that's in the team that we appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other secret sauce was my mom, who made the best cake in the world.
Oh.
So I would tell the guys in the locker room, hey, we're having a Bible study tonight, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. My mom, who as you well know, makes the best chocolate cake in the world, is making one. Would you like to come? They're like, surprisingly, they all wanted to come. And then as it turned out, after that, like, oh, there was something very connected about, okay, we can actually find purpose and connection with God beyond the field. But this is and it's at the very heart, at the very core is this need to understand our purpose. And I discovered that starting a faith community, which is very different than I would say, starting a church is what we do, to call it formally a church plant.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really connecting people now like we talk about it at the Link Church, like connecting people to what really matters, their purpose,
right.
which starts with understanding who they are in relationship to God. And it's not just about like a religion. It's more about having a personal connection and relationship with the God who created us. And so that clicked in my brain that it's something I really needed to help drive forward. And that I was wired to do that. Right. So not everybody is wired. Like I have some really close friends who say I'm crazy because they get like, they've been pastoring the same church for 30 years and they can't imagine kind of doing, a startup perpetually,
with no net, right?
Right. There's no net below. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, no guarantee. We've been like a lot of people, I'm sure, watching our commission salespeople, like, what it's like to start something from scratch.
Sure.
You don't have a net below. And, but I'm wired that way. I love going out and starting new things. But I'm also even more excited about when people can actually help put some pieces together for their lives and be someone I could walk alongside them with. So that, I don't know if that answered the question, but that's kind of how it started. And the FCA was the first thing we started. And from that point, so the local chapter there at the high school, one of my coaches who had played at Texas A&M and was a great guy, still Jim Kazmersky is his name, who was on the Cotton Bowl team, 1967 or 8, somewhere in there. He said he was new to the school, and he said, "Hey, I've heard that you have you have a faith in God, and what do you think? This is the last high school, and what do you think about starting this with me?" And I said, "Let's do it." And so in that fall of '76, there were 4 other guys on the team, including my brother and a handful of other guys. And that Fellowship of Christian Athletes, I was talking to an FCA leader in the Dallas area not too long ago, and he told me it's the longest running high school group in the state of Texas.
Wow.
And so it's been going for a long time. 76 is a long time ago, but that's kind of where it got started. And it kind of like, once you do something like that, it's like, okay, this is bigger purpose than me, greater purpose than even a high school experience, but this is like eternal kingdom. God kind of excited me. And so I thought, let's keep doing that. So we found that starting new churches was a great way to do that.
And your natural bent of that entrepreneurial side is just a natural ingredient there, right?
Yeah, it is. And, that's what I want to keep doing. I want to basically stay where I'm at and start, sites all around us at this point, because that's really what I'm, like to see. I'd like to stay put, but not lose that focus,
So how many, through the organizations, which I'm going to get into in a minute here, CMN and others, how many church plants have you been part of, even tangentially?
Oh.
I don't mean like firsthand,
Yeah.
Braintree, Mass, and Canton, Mass.
Yeah. Well, we've been a part of since 2007. I'll just count from that point. In some form or another, whether it was training or coaching, about 4,000 new startup faith communities in some capacity.
That's U.S.
Yeah. And then there's some around the world. Like we trained some leaders who were in Europe, some leaders in South America, some leaders in Europe, as well as Africa. And so I don't know, really. It's
in the thousands for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a bit. I'm going to jump around in my notes here a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us about CMN, which is Church Multiplication Network.
Okay.
You've been very close to them. You were part of that team for a while. Yeah. Tell us about the organization and your roles, plural.
Yeah. So the Church Multiplication Network is an organization that exists to help equip, fund, and network church planters and people who are wired like me, who want to go to a community and start a new faith community. And so what we were commissioned, there were a group of guys like myself who kind of a grassroots movement back in the early 2000s who were doing some training and coaching. And what I realized way back from when we first got started in the early 90s was that there were some key characteristics that would help people be successful in startup kinds of church ministries. It's similar to what kind of wiring a startup business person's going to need. Or so we started looking at and learning about and assessing what kind of characteristics would be necessary. And then there were some training components. So this grassroots movement of leaders who were saying, hey, we can do this even better than what we've been doing. And so we used to not have any training. Like when my first startup, it was like, hey,
go get him, Tiger.
That's good. Let's go do that. And it was kind of like there was no assessment, no training. It was all parachute. It's like jumping out of an airplane. jumping into new territory, and you hope your parachute opens, right?
Yeah.
And so we learned that during that time that some parachutes opened and some didn't. In fact, I kind of joke about like, hey, we had no assessment system in the past in those days. And so we would have people that would jump out of the airplane, pull the ripcord, and realize it wasn't really a parachute. It was actually a backpack, and they would crash. And we didn't want that for people that the good people that just didn't have the wiring to do it. And so in this grassroots group of folks said, hey, let's put some assessment and training pieces together.
If I could add, applying business techniques, right? Business-based techniques to the nonprofit world.
That's right. That's exactly what we did. And just taking those principles and then you're pouring the secret sauce of, okay, here's the God of the universe that we're aligning with. So that works really well, so, it's not super, we're not super smart. It's just that we're connected to a really good source. So, so this group of people were commissioned by a denominational group called the Assemblies of God that said, hey, how could we pour fuel? We like what you guys are doing. How can we pour more fuel onto that fire? How could we actually make this go faster? Because we see how the churches that are starting that are newer are actually connecting with people who aren't in church, and that that you hear all the time about how the churches are kind of fading away, but there's also this group of new churches that are reaching new people and kind of doing it in a little bit different way. And so this organization, this denomination said, hey, how could we be a part of this? How could we see more new churches, and what kind of new churches could we see? So they asked us for a proposal, like what could it look like? And this group of grassroots people all got together in Nashville, of all places, and came up with this plan that we would presented that said, hey, we want to bring a business plan to you. We wrote a business plan, and we were commissioned to say, how do we start 500 new churches a year in this organization? So we built the plan based on those metrics, and from there, that was adopted, and I actually became an employee of that organization for a couple of years. Church Multiplication Network has that. When I go back to that number of 4,000 from 2007 till this past year, about 4,000 new churches have been started in the organization since 2007. So in the last 14 years. That's so phenomenal. That's that, but really using business principles and connecting that to the need for connection with God. And so that's how we got started. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a good transition right there. We're going to take our second break here. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave McNaughton.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show? Well, W4CY Radio makes dreams come true. You can be a radio personality on the #1 ranked internet radio station in West Palm Beach, Florida. We can be heard in 105 countries and all U.S. states. Promote your business, earn up to $10,000 per month and more. It's all up to you. Have fun and be heard. Call 561-506-4031. That's 561-506-4031. Start your radio show now.
This is Rebel Medler. Join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bestian Wealth Management is a second-generation, family-owned financial planning and wealth advisory firm. In addition to coordinating complex business and personal planning needs, our firm takes a sincere interest in your well-being and personal values. Find us at bestgenwm.com. That's bestgenwm.com, where we consider all our clients an extension of our family. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor.
Hey, this is Johnny Three Tears from Hollywood Undead, and you're listening to W4CY Radio.
I do whatever it takes to make it break through. Anything I'm face to face with, it's true.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We're back with Dave McNaughton, entrepreneur, financial advisor, consultant, coach, pastor, and church planter. Dave, tell us about the Link Church in Canton.
Well, the Link Church is, I've kind of already alluded to it once, is a community-based church that really its goal is to help people connect to community, Christ, and cause, and what really matters, and helping people find that purpose in their life, and then help with bringing that message to other people. And so it's not super formal. It's really informal, actually, but
I heard the pastor wears jeans.
That's yeah. You know, I wore a suit one time. It was Christmas Eve. I do that, and I think every once in a while on Easter. But yeah. It's one of those places where we just want people to not have to feel like they have to, anyone is welcome,
mm-hmm.
and you don't have to get all dressed up to go, and all that.
And we have newborns, and we have people that are late in life from every walk. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's age-wise. There's a spot for everybody, and it's fun. It's a great.
There's the link going by. The link to the link going by right there. The link.church.
Yeah, that's the website. Check out the church there.
So talk about your coaching that you do. You are a certified coach, and you work with pastors, church leaders, etc. How'd you get into that, and just describe some of the work that you do? So
when we were in the CMN stage of life, when we were developing that business plan, there were systems that we realized that were important. So a coaching system, I was asked to help develop that. I'd been coaching people for a long time prior to that. Assessment was another one of the systems, mm-hmm. Training system, a funding system. And so within the coaching system team, we said, we need people to be highly trained, well-trained coaches. So we sought out who are the best people of doing that. We discovered that to have a set of values and a set of training, a training level that would help people move forward well was connected to the International Coach Federation. And there was a coach training group that was active with Purdue University at the time. Mm-hmm. And so there's a number of the people who were part of this group were Christians. They had a Christian coaching business, and they also had this business that was coach training at the academic level. And I thought, these are people I like. I want to hear more about these guys. So they were the best of the best within the coach training world. So I took a group of people to Purdue and had from all over the country, and recruited them, had to say, hey, come, let's be a part of this coach training system group. And so from there, I got, as a result of that, I became certified as a coach, and we utilized those values that ICF really embraces as well. And so the coaching that we do is like, you're the expert on your context. We just help you figure out a strategy to reach your goals. Mm-hmm. And coaching is kind of one of my favorite things that I get to do, is helping people unlock their potential and find their path forward.
What are some of the problems that you help people overcome?
Well,
and maybe they're not problems, maybe they're only challenges, but they're still potential roadblocks, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of different ones. Like one of the early challenges if you're in a startup is, how do I get more revenue, or how do I get into, how can I be sustainable? If you're a nonprofit, how can I reach sustainability and still support myself, right? How do we get to the how can we help reach out to more people, or get the word out, like that side of the challenge. Or the flip side to that is things are going so well that we lost track of work-life balance, and we want to realign our priorities, right? So it's like it's a broad spectrum of things that but it's all leadership related for people who are leading organizations. And then there's one of the other areas that I branched into as I grew in the coaching practice was coaching the team as it grew, and making sure that the team was actually in alignment with, vision, value, mission, and understanding how each person fit into that team. I enjoy that piece a lot, probably because of my background growing up playing on a team, and good ones.
Yeah, if you have all skill players, or you have if you have all centers, it's not going to work. You get all quarterbacks, that's not going to work, right?
That's right. Yeah. You need everybody, and understanding how that all works together.
It's funny. My sports analogies always go to football, by the way.
I like it. I think your inner coach is a football coach.
Absolutely. All right. Since 2015, you've been a financial advisor. Thrivent is a Fortune 500 financial services firm. Seen some recent ads. I think there's even an ad during the Super Bowl. I forget, but certainly ads during some games lately.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know who Thrivent is, yet they are a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
It's a different type of company, though. Describe Thrivent.
Yeah. So Thrivent, first of all, let me take a step back before I talk about that, because how I ended up with Thrivent, I think, is important because I was coaching, a couple hundred clients a year, right? So that was kind of the path forward, and some of those were business clients, and I'd ask this first question I would ask to everyone. It's like, so what is it why'd you hire me, right? What is it you want to do? And they would articulate it. Like, people that are visionary, they don't have a hard time articulating, what's the goal here? Well, I want to have an incredible business, or I want to have a thriving nonprofit or a church or whatever it might be. So the follow-up question of that is, so what's keeping you from that? And so for many, it was around the question of, how am I going to fund it? What's the financial piece of it? And especially for those who were connected to the faith space, like that's a big deal. And to me, it was like, in my brain, I was thinking, where's the disconnect here? Because here's this person who feels like they're going to do something great to impact a lot of people, and their partner, their primary partner in this is God of the universe, who we're working for. And you're worried about this one big question, what's keeping you from it? And they said, money. Like, my resources are limited. And it didn't make sense to me. And so it kind of put me on this path, because I never saw myself as, hey, I'm going to go pursue a financial services career. But when I found Thrivent, or if we discovered each other, so the reason why many people have never heard of Thrivent, I jokingly say, Thrivent's the biggest company you've never heard of, perhaps, because for 100 years they only worked with Lutherans. So I'm not Lutheran. And so I didn't know they existed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's a Fortune 500, but it's member owned because of its structure, and a not for profit. So that was all kind of interesting to me. And so the reason why many have like say, oh, I think I probably know, number 350 on the Fortune 500. You should know them, right? You're in business, so.
Yeah.
So, but the reason why the name is just coming out for many is because the doors for membership were opened much broader because of member vote a number of years ago. So we work with everyone, but focused now still in the faith space very heavily. And so that opened the door for me. And we started having this conversation a few years before I came on board. And I discovered that what I was doing as a coach translated very well to what a really good advisor could do. And so that's how I ended up in the Thrivent space. I still see myself as a coach, but I'm now helping facilitate the goals that I've added this set of tools that financial services can add. And so I love it. It's a great culture. I enjoy being a part of it. I've currently still, I have clients that I work with, but I also am doing some work with, believe it or not, startup financial advisors. Similar role that I've been in for the last almost 20 years with startup entrepreneurial leaders, people starting new churches, but it's now also added this space in a coaching capacity with them.
So give you a chance to do a quick 30-second pitch. Who are you looking for new advisors?
Well, yeah. So part of people who are entrepreneurial, that does not mean that you don't have to have extensive financial services background, but would be willing to study and work and learn and develop. But people who are entrepreneurial in the sense like that you want to create a future where you're not just dependent on someone else to make the decision. So there are a number of different structures that you can be a part of, but people who have a desire to help other people, that would like to see people succeed in their goals and really walk alongside of other people I say it like this with startup guys. If you ever feel like you're selling something, a product, I've failed as your coach, because really we're in the relationship business. And if you can build relationships and help people in those relationships meet their goals, we've been successful, and you'll be successful when you do that.
The mission of the firm is unique. In that you said it's member owned, which means it's not for profit,
correct,
and yet it's a Fortune 350. Where do all those? I'm leading the witness here.
Right? No, it's
where
good.
do all those profits go?
Yeah. So this was kind of the clincher for me, because instead of typically Fortune 500, you have to pay tax on all this profit, and it's important to pay taxes, and we're not talking about tax evasion or anything like that. But a not-for-profit structure, not the entire company, but one big segment of it is not-for-profit. And so the dollars that would be equal to the taxes owed would be the dollars that go to charity. So our members who have a real strong charitable bent, who have this strong Christian background, all these Lutherans and people like them, right? So we get to help direct, as members, the organization on what causes we care about. And so last year, about $300 million went to causes that our members cared about. And those dollars went for everything from Habitat for Humanity to the local gardening club, the not-for-profit gardening club. So every kind of in every sector, whatever members care about, they can nominate their charity of choice. And anything that's a 501c3 pretty much can receive Thrivent charitable dollars. And so that's a pretty cool thing.
It is cool. I've seen some of those dollars go to youth sports.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I love that. Of course, that we've talked about the background a little bit, and we've done that, and we've done a ton of work with the local food pantry, drives for people that were hungry and people that needed help, and just a lot of really. It helps us be, we can actually be more active in helping other folks.
Yeah, back to school in the fall, right? Helping kids get ready.
Hundreds and hundreds of backpacks, and with the school supplies, and it's there's tons of ways that members now can show up, and that charitable desire that many have. We're a good fit for that type of wiring.
All right, so let me ask you this question. We're almost out of time. We got a couple minutes here, but minute and a half. Who in the viewing and listening audiences should reach out to you? We talked about a lot of things here, covered a lot of ground, right? Who should reach out and why?
So I think the first person would be if you're looking for some ideas about maybe thinking about a career change, looking for some opportunity. Reach out to me. Let's have a conversation about is financial services, is Thrivent a fit for you? Okay. Secondly, if you're a not-for-profit and you're leading a not-for-profit, I would love to be able to connect with you about how Thrivent may be able to. You probably already have members that are connected to your organization that we could actually help you get the word out to people who could direct dollars your way. And then the third group, and I always want to just say this, if you're wanting to, if you're on your journey and you'd like to have someone just to walk alongside of you on your faith journey, be happy to have that conversation as well.
Outstanding. And the best way to connect is right there, connect.thrivent.com/David-McNaughton. That's McNaughton.
Yeah.
Dave, this has been fun for me personally. It's been great having you here. I know you're really busy. Thanks for carving out an hour. Appreciate it.
I thank you for the opportunity, and it's always it's awesome to be on 135. I hope to get back on one of these days. Maybe next year, same channel, same time.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Let's do it. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. This is a show about business and business challenges. If you're concerned about the growth of your company, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook at Winning Business Radio. It's probably the easiest way to find me, or winningbusinessradio.com. Thank you, Roxy, for another great show. We'll be back at it again next Monday, January 10th at 4 p.m. My guest is going to be David Sawyer. He's the founder and chief executive of Safer Places, a background check company. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan.
Have a good one.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.